So on this lot, can you describe to me a little bit about kind of the growth that Woody Bogler Trucking had here specifically, and then when maybe the scenario of kind of wrapping this location up?
So 1996 was the move-in date. Slowly but surely, we sold the land that we owned in town to the city of Rosebud. We were booming at the time. I mean, 96 was a gangbuster year. It was a bumper crop year, so to speak. We had 3 or 4 new customers come on, one in Clay, one in particular. We were going to Greencastle, Indiana. We could barely keep up. So as fast as my dad could buy trucks and trailers, I was hiring drivers, putting them in there, training them, going trucking. We grew from about 25, 26, maybe 28 trucks, I think, to 75 trucks in like a year. I mean, it happened overnight. My dad couldn't stop buying trucks. He's like, man, you're doing a good job. You keep hiring the drivers and I'll keep buying the trucks. So I was a maintenance director, I was a safety director, I was a recruiter, I was the dispatcher, and my dad bought trucks and trailers.
So it sounded like you had a lot of time on your hands to introduce a new market and segment for Woody Bogler Trucking, and that happened here, and that's the van side, the dry van side.
So this is how we lead into this. So this is 1996, like I said, going gangbusters, growing like no tomorrow. Within 1 year, that all changed. We had 2 locations say, thanks, nice to know you, we no longer need clay. So now I ended up with like 40 trucks that I needed something to do with. I had enough business for 25, 30. I didn't have enough business for 75. So, sitting in the office, and Big Raj, Roger Stockton, his wife Vicky worked up at Custom Printing in Owensville. So Roger, we need something to do. Do you think Vicky could, think they need, anything hauled up there, Custom Printing? Roger said, well, let me call Vicky. So he called Vicky, and we're sitting there in the office, and he talked to, she said, yeah, call Karen. So I called Karen up there, and she said, how many trailers can you get up here? We have freight falling off the dock. I said, hold on a second. Let me go see if I can rent some trailers. So Dad's sitting there in the office. I said, Dad, we need van trailers. I don't know how he knew these guys, but Personal Attention Leasing in St. Louis, he dialed them up, rented 20 trailers. I mean, that day we were going to St. Louis picking up trailers and headed to straight to Custom Printing, which then became Von Hoffman, and started loading out our first loads. Actually, Roger took the very first load to Houston, Texas. We actually had a 45-foot trailer we used for storage. So we emptied out that storage trailer. He hooked onto it, went and picked up the first load, and then we hauled, I'll never forget that I found the first load back. It was a load of 55-gallon drums of Shell oil that came back to St. Louis from Houston. So we got the 20 trailers in. We rented 20 more trailers, but we had to go to Kansas City to get those. So we went from all-in dump to overnight, pulling 40 van trailers. I made another phone call. I sent 5 trucks down to Cape Girardeau. We started hauling trees on flatbeds. We started doing anything and everything to keep these trucks busy.
It's the grind, and that's never stopped. It's always been like that in trucking.
It's always been like when you lose, when one door closes, another door opens. We move on. We just figure something out. And we didn't intend to get into the dry van business, but now we run more dry vans than we do anything. It just happened, Bottom line is, one door closes, another door opens, but that door that closed came back because those same customers that told us they weren't going to ever use clay again picked up the phone about 6 months later and said, hey, we need the clay again. So the good news was we had all our dump trailers parked back here we weren't using. We just hooked back onto them and stirred up just like we had never done it, like it never ended. So
you're at this location roughly from 96 until what year, and then what was that transition looking like with not only you running the business, your dad, but how did you end up in Gerald?
So from 96, 97, starting a dry van division, 98, 99, we kept growing. We still kept growing because the dry van business took off. So we're about 1999. We just got in a whole bunch of new Mack trucks. My dad loved Mack trucks. He would say if Mack made ice cream, that's the kind he would eat. So we ordered some 99 Macks. Those came in and everything's going great. We decided in 2000 that we're going to shift out of the from buying Macks to buying Peterbilts. So we started ordering Peterbilts in 2000. My dad was kind of stepping back quite a bit in 2000. I knew things weren't quite right. You know, he wasn't really retiring, but I knew he just didn't feel well, and he let me run the business. So between 2000 and 2002, I pretty much was running the business by myself. He would come in the morning and then check out, and then he would come back in the afternoon late. And finally, you know, in 2002, I said, "Look, you have to go see a doctor. Something ain't right. You're not spunky. You don't even care about trucking really anymore. I don't know if it's just because I'm doing a good job or there's something going on." And anyways, he goes to the doctor, and they gave him a choice: you either have open heart surgery or you go home and you don't make it. So he called me that night, said, "Hey, they told me I need to have open heart surgery or I'm not going to make it." I said, "So what are you going to do?" Knowing him, I felt like he might just say, "I'm going home." And he said, "Well, I guess I'm staying. So you need to be here in the morning because they're doing surgery at 7 a.m. So I said, "Wow, okay, here we go." So we go next morning, open heart surgery, do a triple bypass, comes out of it, everything's great. 3 days into it, about ready to check out on the 4th day because everything is going so smooth. Weigh him in, lay him back down in bed, ends up with a blood clot in his leg that goes up and causes a stroke. So in 2002, I get the phone call. I'm sitting here in the office thinking I'm going to pick him up the next day from the hospital to rush into the hospital as fast as I can because we're not sure if he's going to make it. Well, it comes out of it like normal. He surprises everybody. Doctor's informing me that he's never going to walk again, talk again. This is pretty much how he's going to be. By that time, he started moving his foot, and then he raised up his leg. Doctor's looking at me like, "What is going on here?" And I said, "You're the doctor." And next thing you know, he opens his eyes and literally sits up in bed and says, "What the bleep just happened?" And I said, "Well, you're going to be all right." And the doctor's like, "Okay, you had a stroke." He's up walking the next day in rehab. After the doctor had just informed me, this is how things are always going to be now. He never, you know, and then his famous line was, "I'm tougher than a boot." And the doctor said, "You are a literal science experiment for me at this time. I don't understand how this is happening. But hey, here we are." So anyways, so after the stroke, it was 100%, I had to run the business now. There was no choice in the matter. He wasn't going to be back and be able to do it. So
now it's truly on your shoulders,
yeah.
Carrying on the Woody Bogler legacy. I love hearing all the stories about Woody. He was an interesting character from what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're moving down to Gerald, Missouri. And
yeah.
Your dad still had a hand in that negotiation and the reason going down there?
Yeah, so I left a little bit out of that story. So about 3 months before we did the open heart surgery and had the stroke, if you know the area, Buford Transfer in 2001 had been there for, 50 years, went out of business. We happened to bank in the same bank as they did. The building had sat there for over a year empty, and they had almost 15 acres, 14.9 acres in a building. And one day, our good old banker, Dick Scott from Jefferson Bank, called my dad and said, "Hey, you're gonna own this property." My dad said, "Well, we don't need it. We got a lifetime lease down here." He said, "No, you're gonna own this property." He said, "I'm gonna make this deal so good and the interest rate so right that you can't say no." So he threw out a number, threw out an interest rate, and my dad said, "Okay, I guess we'll take it." Very surprised that my dad agreed. And then he told me what was going to happen, and I said, "This is awesome." And we went to the signed the paperwork, and it was quite, humbling, I guess, to say the least, because the guys from Buford Transfer, they were very upset, but they were very happy to pass the torch over to us. They were good friends of my dad, and they couldn't have went to anybody better, according to those guys, and I believe that too. But needless to say, we walk away, and I said, "All right, we're going to start moving in, huh? This is it, new office, running water. We're going to have a bathroom. This is going to be awesome." He said, "No, we don't need to move in." He's like, "We'll use that down the road whenever we need it." I said, "We need it. We're out of room. The parking lot's, we can't park another truck here." And no, he wasn't moving. So one day while I was visiting him at the hospital, he was in the hospital for 3 months up in Columbia. Failed to mention that, but the Boone Hospital in Columbia is where this all happened at. And I came back to my office, and everything was gone. There's nothing here. The guys that were working with us, Roger and Scott and everybody, they knew that we weren't moving. I wasn't gonna move it because of my dad's wishes, so they just moved us. So the next day I had to show up in Gerald, because that's where my desk and my phone was, and my computer. So
now we're off. This is roughly 2002.
2002.
And we're off to the races in Gerald. We're officially out of Rosebud.
We're in Gerald. We're Geraldins now.
And now the legacy continues of Woody Bogler Trucking.
That's correct.
Well, let's go take a look.
All right.